Let me use her cup. Usually she guards it. Okay, I want to go ahead and get started. Thanks again for joining, everybody. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday morning. I know times are really hard for people right now, hard on a lot of martial arts schools, very hard. I know some friends who are really struggling. I've seen some notifications of some people whose schools have decided to close, and boy, it's really hard to hear and sad to hear and unfortunate. I really wish the best for everybody out there. I know unemployment's at tough levels. People are suffering mental health. It's tough times, right? So, in some places things are getting better. Unfortunately, where I'm at, Florida, things are spiking and things are getting worse, not better at the moment. Luckily, there's still some space in the ICU. I've been tracking a hospital bed availability and that kind of thing. So luckily, we're not maxed out in terms of, severe cases. So that's good news. But I would tell you, we're trying to stay pretty isolated. And, so I hope you guys are being safe and doing what you can, to make the best of this situation, right? So hard on a lot of people. Some people have found silver linings in the current situation. So getting other things done, spending more time with family, things like that. So, you got to look for what you can good in a tough scenario. So hey, first things first, two things I want to clarify. One is that I'm not delivering a course today. I'm talking about a course that I will be delivering. So this is the what, where, why, and how about the course. It's not actually the course we're talking through today. So, I'll be talking about it, but I won't be delivering it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, a courtesy to anybody who might be coming and who might get offended at being sold something. Yes, it's true. I'm not giving this away. So, put a lot of personal effort into this, writing these as the developers of any intellectual property, any books or videos will tell you, if that material simply gets put out into the ether, if there are people who are believing that all information should be free, you'll see authors and developers of intellectual property simply stop doing it. I will go back to, like a lot of people, if things are ripped off and put out in the public domain, I will go back to doing the thing that I started with, which was simply focusing on my own students. And I know you guys probably would as well if it turned out to be not worth your time and effort. So anyhow, if the fact that I'll actually be selling something here might offend you, just letting you know now so you don't waste your time if you don't want to be here. So anyhow, regarding questions, it's a little tough for me to both talk and answer questions in the moment. So what I'll do is I will circle back around, reread the feed towards the end, and then I'll try to respond to all questions at that point. So getting into the meat of the details. So I start with why, right? So a lot about the book is about why. Why do we do things? Why should we do things in certain ways? Why do teachers do things? Why educators? Those kinds of things. So let me get started with why does this course exist, right? Why did I put the effort into building this course? If you're here, you know about me, you know about the Burinkan, you know about some of my concerns, and those are about doing what we can to preserve, promote, and promote traditional martial arts in a time where they're dying a slow death in comparison to other things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, MMA, these kinds of things that are looked at upon by society with a better light. People have a pretty negative connotation when they think about a lot of the arts that many of us study. So I want to do my part for in helping enhance our ability to be better educators, to deliver traditional martial arts with all the value. Of course, I'm riding on the coattails of other people like Hanshi McCarthy, if you're still on. Of course, your work has been seminal for so many of us, and whatever we can do to continue to push forward and help promote many of the ideas that you've put forth, is partly what we're doing here at the Burinkan. So, the point being, this, like the other books, started with a concern for my students. And it usually takes the effort of other people around me to say, hey, why don't you document this better, give this to other people, make it available for other people, so that we can continue with the broader goal, right? So, like so many things, being a good neighbor, a good family member, good friend, do your best to touch the people who are closest to you. But when you've established your abilities there, see what you can do to expand your radius of influence. And so if we can all help one another become better teachers, give better reputation to traditional martial arts, in various ways. I have a focus on utility and educational methods. There are plenty of other cultural and historical and body development value. There are many, many reasons to train martial arts, but I digress. So those are my focuses. So again, I want my students to have clear guidance on what I've been teaching them, why, and give them the tools to recreate the core lessons and help them understand what skill-based test criteria looks like. And for them to be clear about what it will take to teach under the banner of Burinkan martial arts. I also wanted to be clear to the public who's a licensed instructor coming from our school, right? I mean, like a lot of people, reputation matters to a certain extent, and I want to make sure that, people who are associated with our school are doing a good job. I've been asked by some people, many people in our twice yearly workshops, how they can take the material presented and use it to really enhance their curriculum. So that's the primary model or the primary driver for this open call to people beyond my students, is to say, I've been hearing you say you'd love the drills, you'd love to know what to do, you'd love some assistance in helping use the model presented in the book to help enhance your teaching methods. So that's what's been the driver for me spending the time, again, during this COVID downtime, to be able to say, how do I better document what I teach, why I teach it, and in what order, and what's the rationale for that order. So, I know some of you people on the call have actually been to some of the workshops. I know you guys have asked for these things. But, a lot of people have asked for, hey, can I get the book of drills that we presented, that we go through, in different categories in the workshops. And the truth be told, I've actually always been really reluctant to just give away a set of drills. I know the workshop is about experiencing the drills, but it's actually not about taking away the 25 drills with an average of 4 levels, approximately 100 drills that we go through each time we do that workshop. My goal is not to have people walk away with 100 drills that they go and they plop into their curriculum, because what I've seen is people will take drills and not understand them or not use them to a high educational purpose. And what I want to do is make sure that we do our best from an educational perspective to squeeze every bit of value we can out of our training, so that we're not spending 30 years in a horse stance punching. We're actually being very progressive with our teaching and our training. So, the workshops, from my perspective, have always been around helping people adjust their mindsets as it relates to their place in tradition, and how teaching methods can be separated from the content of the tradition. Teaching methods can be kind of the delivery method for the tradition itself. And then also helping people understand, at least my perspective on, again, everybody has plenty of background, at least the people who have come to the workshops are very experienced, but to have a perspective about strategic theory and tactical theory as it relates to principles of application specifically, and then high-level theory around educational models, things like backwards planning and how that drives your ability to develop test metrics that are useful before you then develop curricula and deliver that curricula, and then how the students then experience that process in reverse. They experience the curricula, they experience the testing methodology, and then they achieve the goal. The workshop in a 2-day workshop, it's too quick to really gain everything. But my goal is for people to better understand how to look at drills, to analyze them, to see them as a framework for integrating with other drills, but also every drill advancing along a paradigm that allows you to layer additional skill sets. Again, layering being one of those ideas around how we define how a skill is becoming more and more advanced, right? So the goal for the workshops has been to develop a clearer understanding of the framework that the book presents. But this curriculum is about saying how in a very discrete, step-by-step manner to develop from nearly nothing to the point where you have a set of workable skills. Now, it's still a level 1 course. It's not going to take someone from A to Z, but it could be 6 solid months of training on what essentially you would typically call ukewaza or receiving, or in Chinese martial arts, you would call them bridging, kyusao drills, those kinds of things. So essentially, it's all around the training that you might have in your fundamental kumite in a karate school, something like your sandangi or your kiso kumite, or those kinds of drills. This would help enhance or enforce or replace that material in a curriculum. So the goal is this would be a kind of a proper foundation for building core receiving and bridging skills efficiently, right? It adds skills to the engagement of any arm-on-arm contact for the purposes of receiving, blocking, setting up strikes, grappling, chin-na, throws, those kinds of things. All the hand game and any grappling work definitely benefits from this. So it provides a testable framework for discrete skill development that would fit really well in the curriculum of a karate, kung fu, or taekwondo school, in the portion of the bridging portion of the school. So kind of, you're probably wondering, like, well, what does the course look like? Is it a DVD? Is it a YouTube video? What is it, right? So the model here is not necessarily like what I've seen elsewhere. The goal is to be more like kind of a Western educational approach. So the goal is get you guys the book, the new booklet that includes the 36 lessons, supplemented by video. So again, this is a written material first, supplemented by video course. It's not me live streaming the classes. It's supplemental videos for each lesson to help you better understand, and then a Facebook group where you can ask questions, share with one another, explore the material, and then you can ask clarifying questions. If you have difficulties with anything, I can create new videos. So that's the point. The point is it's a written materials first, supplemented by videos, supplemented by engagement with other students and with me for clarification purposes. And then, of course, that clarification will roll into edits to the book and new videos or additional supplemental videos. Right? So, looking around, I don't see anybody else doing something exactly like this. I could absolutely be wrong. I can only see what I can see. But the point is, the goal is to document a piece of curriculum and deliver it for public purchase. And, I feel pretty confident that no one outside of my school has done this using the framework in my book, at least. Of course, there are plenty of other frameworks, many of which are fantastic. Our framework is our framework, and it's something that we've gotten a lot of good feedback around. So the thought was to continue to put that out into the realm of others who might want it. So obviously it's full of drills. Some of the drills in these 36 lessons come from the drills that we put out in the workshops. But all of the lessons are categorized in one of four primary categories. There's movement patterns where you're developing body coordination, upper and lower body, left and right side, serial and parallel movements with the left and right side of the body interleaved. Then there are forms of lessons that are about context and experience. They're about helping the student understand a particular combative problem or solution, but not yet at the point where they're actually developing the skill. Then, of course, there's the skill development drills. Of course, most of the drills are around skill development. And then there are some that are specifically around power development, specifically around short power development, and linked to the endpoints of the primary movements used in the course. So there are kind of some seed or fundamental movements that we start with that we build on through the whole thing. So, this phrase, I hear this phrase from time to time, and it's absolutely true in the case of this. If you were to look at any one of these 36 lessons, you might go, oh, yeah, well, I do something like that, or yeah, I've seen that before. The reality is the value is not in any individual lesson. The value is in the structure and format and understanding and progression of the 36 lessons. So they are, without a doubt, greater than the sum of their parts. That is absolutely true. That is the whole point of the course is, and this, I've got some supplementary documents that come with the workbook, but essentially, there are lessons that build upon one another, layering additional skill sets all along, pointing to and derived from and driven by and supported by the principles in the book in a very clear manner, so that you see by the end of the course, the goal is to have a very high level of skill in any bridging engagement in which the hands touch. So, the driving tenet of this curriculum this curriculum is to break down the training into testable, discrete units to determine if the usable skill is actually developed. So, it can be very difficult in schools. I see it a lot. I came up this way. I still teach in some cases this way while I'm still working through redefining certain bits of curriculum where, the primary metric for testing for your second Q is kata X, Y, and Z, as opposed to testable skills A, B, and C. So, clearly, if we're going to help traditional martial arts move into the future in a way where the reputation is enhanced, the utility is enhanced, people see Krav Maga or MMA and traditional martial arts all along the same line, the utility has to be there such that we can prove ourselves in terms of skill development. And again, I know that's not everybody's perspective or concerns, but my concerns are primarily around those two core concerns: utility, usability, and educational ability, like our ability to become better educators, to teach in a more progressive and efficient manner so that we can get there more quickly. Not that it should take 30 years to teach a student properly, that like in many of the older systems, that 4 or 5 years you should be able to develop a significant degree of skill through solid progressive training. So that's the principal tenet, is to design discrete units of testable training. The second thing is the approach is to stack multiple skills onto very few motions. So the whole point of this, so let me move forward into kind of what do you learn in the course, right? It's a 101 level course. So the point is, it's to deliver a hands-on understanding of many of the principles in the book and the development of the skills that come from that. So the course uses 6 receiving motions: upper, middle, and lower, Jochuge, and inward and outward sweeping motions. So essentially your Uchi and Soto movements, Jodan, Chudan, and Gedan level. So 6 receiving motions are the basis for the entire course. Now there are additional strikes that are added in. There are many ways to use those motions. We'll layer on those motions the other bridging capabilities, like the further development of proper hands, strong versus weak, seek the center, unified body, keeping the point on line, closest weapon, closest target, filling the dead space, filling the dead time. Those kinds of things are all layered on top of those fundamental motions. And then we essentially start against the faster straight punches, and then later in the course move on to working against circular strikes like haymakers and such. It gives the student a bunch of opportunities to better understand the effects of various kinds of control on the attacker's OODA loop, how to identify which kinds of application practices are of high or low value against your ability to command control and maintain control of that OODA loop. We train the outward bridging motions in 4 different ways. We train them in terms of transfer, retraction, shielding, and cutting. So there are 4 different modes of practicing the outward movements. Excuse me. Pardon me for a second. So we train in short power development, which is required and supportive of principles like closest weapon, closest target, and fill the dead space. And it helps to guide interleaving actions between the left and right side of the body, both serial and parallel, to help demand and that control of the attacker's OODA loop throughout multiple motions. It helps the student understand their 3 segments better, how to bridge properly, how to preemptively shut down someone else attempting to use their arms with advanced understanding of those 3 segments. Provides both static. When I say static, it makes sense when I say it against randomized drills. So static drills might be more like the experience of doing something. You've experienced flanking, but you haven't really done it against not knowing which punch comes in. That would be one simple example of kind of a randomized drilling mode. Interspersed, with different kinds of tests to make sure that those things that you develop your randomized ability to a higher level. And then we also provide a series of transitions training to help develop things like flow and filling gaps, and support things like repositioning and moving from one gate to another, and to support grappling maneuvers and those kinds of things. So essentially, I've broken it into 36 lessons. I'm still sticking to classical numerology, but there's a lot of those lessons that have multiple stages in them. there's a lot more than 36 lessons worth of classes to train in. Each of the drills, almost every drill has to be trained at least 3 ways, all 3 levels inward, all 3 levels outward, potentially 6 ways. You know, it's at least 72 classes worth of training. But it's not everything a student needs. It's expected you would also be teaching your student in parallel, you know, things they need for etiquette, body development, stretching and strengthening, with and without tools, with and without a partner, punching practice, kicking practice, standing and stepping and moving with good posture. Those are an understanding of use of force, an understanding of local self-defense laws, an understanding of de-escalation tactics. These are all things that you should also be teaching your student at the same time. Again, this level 1 course is really about receiving techniques. You could call it ukewaza or kyusao, depending, right? So the point is, this would be replacing, potentially, if you go all in on this, something like your sandangi, kiso kumite, those kinds of training. So it's style agnostic. You'll see it demonstrated with karate style of movement, with kung fu style of movement. But the point is to cover certain ranges, certain gaits, to have a certain quality of movement as you're moving inwards or outwards across your center line in relation to your body box. So the point is, it's absolutely style agnostic, as it should be. It's a level 1 course, so it only covers the outside gate. It supports the development of skills good for flanking. Inside gate skills, fighting in the pocket, requires advanced bridging. It's not a level 1 course. That stuff is taught later. This sets the stage for a lot of other future skills. You know, helps in developing your skills in managing obstructions, repositioning, changing gaits, you know, developing other entries to bridge the gap between long and close range, helps support joint locking, throwing, takedown skills, those kinds of things. Every page in the book probably has 5 to 10 references, cross-referenced to the principle-driven skill development book, so that if you don't understand the booklet itself, you can go back and read the chapter or pages around the principle that we're trying to develop support for. So it's extensively cross-referenced. So moving on to what do you get, right? So the point is, you're going to get a PDF with a license to be able to print a hard copy, or we can make an arrangement that I can send you a printed, you know, format style booklet in the mail. You'll get some supplemental PDFs, which include ultra high level or summary information about each lesson and kind of the why. And of course, this is essentially the material that will be tested on if you actually certify in this, if you're one of my students, or if you want to come in and get certified. The written test will be based on the why of each lesson. You gain access to a series of supplemental videos that'll support the written material. But again, the written material is the primary source of understanding of what the lessons are. And then, of course, I'd add you to a private group where you can support each other, ask questions, and I'll use that as a vector for improving either the booklet or the supplemental videos. So since the COVID situations occurred, I have been unable to restart classes, get my students here, or mentors here, or peers here to continue the videoing. I have some of the videoing done. It's not all done, so I will talk a little bit more about that. If anybody is interested in purchasing this before September 1st, the price will be discounted. The price will be $350 for this course. After that, the price will rise. I haven't determined exactly what that price will be. So the reasoning for that price being lower in the beginning for early, essentially the idea being you guys are coming into the beta version of this course where all the videos aren't complete yet. I'll use your feedback to complete those videos, hopefully by September 1. And again, the whole point is this will be the discount time period. Hopefully by September 1, I will be able to get other people in to finish the videoing of the supplemental material. So after that, once all those materials are available, the price will go up. Since it's a digital course, there'll be no refunds. You'll have to sign a personal license agreement, not a business-to-business one, indicating you won't distribute the book or supplemental materials. You won't post the curriculum online. I know everybody likes to share online now, but if I or other people like me are going to continue to put efforts into developing curriculum, we're all advised by legal counsel to treat this, intellectual property in a professional manner. We have to protect that property, and it's just the way it is. If we can't, then there's no incentive for us to put the effort in to making it available. Last thing before I switch over to read the questions and comments is testing. If you're my student, at some point we will set up a time where you will, most of this material is stuff that if you're coming here on a daily basis or regularly, you're going through this material. I may not have had it as clear to you, the order of the activities that you've been going through. I may not have tested you on every bit of it, but that will change for certification. You will start being tested on this material. When you come in, we'll get you tested on this. There's a written and skills-based element to it. You'll be skill tested on all of the lessons that have a skill test component to them. Not all do, conceptual ones don't. But the other ones do. So probably 80% of these 36 lessons have a test component. If you are coming from out of state, or out of country, as a lot of people do for the workshops, I'm planning on setting up, assuming things all go well with COVID, for the typically November and February workshops. I'll probably set up an extra Friday or Monday, maybe Sunday afternoon or night, where we will actually conduct a test for people who are coming in from out of town if you want to be certified in this material. So let me jump off my notes now and go to see what the comments look like or questions. So if you have questions, make sure you send them to me. Looking for them. See a lot of greetings, not a lot of questions, so that's good news. Okay, so if you are interested, if you are one of my students, let me know. I don't have to answer the questions now. I can follow up with you, and I might post answers to questions as an FAQ following up this call. So, Jason, I see your question. Is there a time frame to complete the lessons? No, there's no time frame. This is, once you purchase the course, it's up to you. You could sit on it forever and never test. You could do it as quickly as you want. But if you test, you could fail. So make sure you're going to pass the test by the time you come in for that test. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, hey, I don't see a whole lot of questions. Like I said, follow up with me if you do have any. I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, take care of yourself. Be safe. Do what you can for your friends, family, neighbors. Be good to one another, and stay safe. All right. Take care.